again, and here we're looking at alcohol and evaluate the different policies that can be used to restrict the drinking of alcohol. Okay, the first thought that should go through our head is market system, market failure, government intervention, government failure. Okay, now clearly trying to solve the problem of alcohol through the market system is not going to work, because otherwise we just have the market system, the price of alcohol would fall, people would drink loads and loads and loads, and there would be overproduction. There is clearly a market failure because alcohol has negative externalities. If people drink too much, they can do damage to themselves in the long term. In terms of the NHS, it's going to cost the NHS a lot of money to clean up all of the problems. People may commit more crime. There may be violence at home, all of these things. So alcohol has negative externalities. It is actually also a depressant. If you drink too much, it actually heightens depression on there as well. Right, so then we can draw this diagram on here, and if we didn't tax it, then the good would be overproduced. So these are all the different ways on here in which you could tackle any market failure problem. You could tax, you could subsidise, you can use, the government could intervene in some way, price controls, buffer stocks, regulation, pollution permits, extension of property rights, and provide information. Now out of these, we can use tax, price controls, regulation, provide information. We may also be able to subsidise in a strange little way, which I'll say in a second or two. Okay, so the different methods. You've got to evaluate the different methods. So one method is taxation. The problem with alcohol though is that it has an inelastic demand. So if we raise the price, demand will quite clearly fall. So we raise the price here, then demand will fall by a smaller amount, Q dash. That will also add to the inequality of income, because those on lower incomes will pay a higher proportion of their income on that tax. However, it is a very good way of raising taxation revenue, and I don't think many people would argue against putting a tax on alcohol. Obviously, if it goes too high, then people may say that we're trying to change the way in which people live, and it may also lead to a black market in alcohol which didn't exist before. Minimum prices. I think this is probably quite a good one, because some alcohol in some of the supermarket is very, very, very cheap. So people can go out, drink some poor grade alcohol, which is not going to be very good for you, and get drunk for a tenner. So by raising the minimum price, that will hopefully reduce the amount of alcohol that people drink. Regulation. At the moment, you have to be 18, over and above 18 to drink. We could change it to 21. I don't think that's going to go down too well in the UK. It's also going to be a problem that you've got to enforce that law. That's going to be very, very difficult. So 18 is probably the right age. We've got very tough, although we could have tougher drinking and driving laws. A lot of people say that when you go out, you shouldn't drink at all, and any drink is above the alcohol limit. So that might work. That may be a better policy than you can have one or two drinks from there. So we could regulate more. Probably another one that's not really looked at is much better education, and actually going back to behavioural economics, changing the social norms around drinking. There is a bit of a culture in the UK that you have to go out, and as a youngster you have to go out and get smashed. Well, it's pretty dangerous, because if you really abuse your liver over a short period of time, it can do significant long-term damage. That's the first thing. The second thing is that it's pretty antisocial, and it's a bit of a British thing, and why do we behave in that fashion? So that's a bit of a tricky one, but in the long term, maybe this may be the best approach to somehow to nudge people towards drinking less. You may also be able to subsidise sport, or bring more cafes about, more sort of continental cafes where you have one or two drinks and have a game of pool and have a chat, so there's more conversation going on from there. So those are different policies that can be used. What's the best one? Well, you're probably going to use, in this case, a combination of every single one. But the most effective one will be better education. And a better education, not only to drink less, but maybe you should also take up sport for a healthy lifestyle. So maybe you can nudge set the right environment, set the right standards, and then people may decide to go down the healthier lifestyle route, which will benefit them socially, mentally, and save the NHS, and it would also save the NHS a lot of money.